Hey guys, and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be reviewing Shogun episode 6. We just watched it. We watched it back to back with episode 5. So let's get right into my review. So first of all, this episode 6, had some flashbacks and a lot of history. So I super freaked out because some of the history that was mentioned is like history that I've pulled from for my book Immortal. So it was like cool to see some of that involved or mentioned. So remember that Shogun is based on a book, and the book changes the names of the characters. But because I know the history, I'm pretty sure I know who the history was referencing. So a lot of the flashbacks are revolving around Miyuki or Meraki. I need to remember her name because I can never think of it. But she's the main girl, and she translates for Blackthorn. So there was a lot of drama between her and Blackthorn and her husband and the household and everything. Last episode, I won't spoil it. It's really, really intense. And this kind of creates this drama between her and Blackthorn this episode, and so she's kind of thinking in her mind, and she tells her story last episode. So there's a lot of flashbacks this episode with her, and then her connection with this other woman who's becoming relevant on the regent side of things in Osaka, which is kind of like the capital, and that's where the heir is staying right now. So we kind of get to know that her dad was Akechi, and they called him like Jubei or something, but Akechi Mitsuhide had a name that once started with a J, and I think it was Jubei or something similar, and so the name changed, but I think they're referring to Akechi Mitsuhide, which was Nobunaga's apprentice. And then her dad's history confirmed my theory. So when she reveals her story, which I actually think was last episode, but I'm talking about it for episode 6. I don't know why. Sorry if I'm getting this all mixed up. But anyways, so her dad's history, he served a lord that was ruthless, that he assassinated and betrayed in order for the betterment of Japan. And because of that, he had to kill himself, and he had to kill his entire family. She was married at the time, so she wasn't allowed to fight, and so that's why her life was spared. So we get that story and find out that her dad married her off on purpose so that he could follow through with this plan and she wouldn't get killed for it. So that confirmed everything, because hear me out. The real history is Akechi Mitsuhide got tired of Nobunaga's ruthlessness. In actual history, we don't exactly know why he decided to betray Nobunaga, but we do know that he disagreed with a lot of Nobunaga's ruthless choices. There was one incident where Nobunaga murdered and slaughtered these monks, and they had like women, children, and monks and families, and he just slaughtered them all. And we do know that Mitsuhide had a big issue with that, and he kind of like he disagreed with Nobunaga about that. And so the theory is that was one incident among many that turned Mitsuhide against Nobunaga and caused him to assassinate Nobunaga. Because of that, Mitsuhide took control of Nobunaga and all of his forces and kind of became shogun for about 10 days before he was finally killed. And he was killed, I don't remember exactly how he died. I don't think he committed seppuku, but he did die, and that he did die because of assassinating Nobunaga. I think it was Hideyoshi that rose his army against Mitsuhide to get revenge on Nobunaga's behalf, and that's when Hideyoshi became shogun. If you guys are following me, hopefully you guys are following me so far. So anyway, so Akechi did actually betray Nobunaga. I don't know about Akechi's family. I didn't really research that part of it, but I do know that he died, and he was actually known as the 10-day shogun because he only ruled for such a short time. He was assassinated or killed really quickly after he betrayed Nobunaga like that. Now, you could argue that he did it for the betterment of the realm because Nobunaga was a ruthless guy, but Nobunaga's ruthlessness is actually what united Japan. So, I mean, there's arguments for both sides. But in this, because it is the TV show and it also is taken from the book, so I assume the book mentions something about it. Her father is portrayed, and she mentions that her father assassinated the Nobunaga character. They did change names. I don't remember what it was. It was like Kanagu or something like that. Her father betrayed his lord because the lord was ruthless and he was doing it for the betterment of the realm. And because of that, her whole family was slaughtered except for her. And so that kind of adds more to her character and why she is the way she is. So in this episode, there was a really emphasis on how cold she is and how she just retreats into this self. And so Blackthorn confronts her. I think it might have been this episode, but it may have been last episode. But either way, Blackthorn is trying to bring that out in her and like tell her that she doesn't have to suffer in silence and like serve her husband that she doesn't love and serve the Lord and like do all this stuff for everybody else and never deal with her own self. And then she tells him that he's not really free, and they kind of have this argument. So then Toranaga, there's drama between her husband, Blackthorn. Toranaga is tired of it. And then we get this brothel thing that's kind of in the middle that kind of distracts from it. Well, it doesn't distract from it, but it focuses on their drama more than anything else going on, which is fine. It kind of like, I don't know, it felt to me kind of like a distraction, but it was kind of focused on the main characters and what I consider to be their romance. I'm really hoping that Blackthorn and Maruki, or Meraki, whatever her name is, the main girl that translates for him, I hope they get together. So it wasn't a distraction, but it kind of was. And so I'm not sure how I felt about it. It didn't show anything inappropriate, but it did imply it was a brothel. But I did love how it shows how different it is from medieval brothels in Europe at the time, because it was very clean, very proper, very pristine, very ritual orientated. And it really does. This whole episode did emphasize how ritualistic the Japanese people are, because there's a ritual in everything that they do. And there's an event that happens that I can't spoil that is heartbreaking, that is breaking Blackthorn's heart. And he's kind of tired of the culture and how there's so many rituals that there's just nothing like it. I don't know, it affects him in a negative way, and he sees more negatives to it than positives based on how everybody else around him is behaving. And so the brothel, it's like they poured him tea. The whole tea pouring ritual was fantastic, for really historically portrayed. And then she has to translate for him as he's allowed to visit this brothel as a gift and interacting with the courtesan woman who's supposed to be like serving him that night. So it kind of creates this awkward, really super awkward situation that also kind of shows Japanese culture and how they handle serving people at the brothels like that. And then it kind of scene cuts, kind of implies some stuff, but it doesn't really show anything bad or anything. It just kind of implied everything, and it just really sets the drama. So a lot of this episode was focused on their drama, which is fine. I'm shipping them. I hope they work things out. I don't think they're going to, but it did kind of focus on that, and then the history, and then there was a lot of drama with the mother of the heir, and we found out a lot about her and how she was brought in because the Taiko, aka Hideyoshi, they don't say his name, but we know it's Hideyoshi, the previous shogun, in other words. His wife and none of his courtesans, he went through so many women and he couldn't have kids. And this is actually historical. He did not have a child until he was older, much, much older. And so that's why when he died, his son was very young. And so that's why, like, Hideyoshi appointed the 5 regents to help support the rule and to help his son come into power when his son came of age. But he did not have a son until he was very old. And so we get her story a little bit. How historical it is, I don't know. But in this particular TV show, and I don't know how accurate it is to the book either. So, but in this one, she was brought in later and went through a lot in order to bear Hideyoshi's son, the Taiko's son, as they call it. And so she's kind of manipulating things, and there's a lot of drama between her and the regents can't agree on who to replace who Toranaga's replacement should be so that they can vote to impeach Toranaga. And then it's kind of implied that they're going to go to war, that Toranaga is going to go to war against Osaka with this plan. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like the Crimson Fire or the Crimson something. So it feels like we're building up towards some sort of battle, and I'm pretty excited. I'm really here for it. Overall, I would say this episode, I liked it. It felt a little slower. I liked the culture. I still love the culture and the characters and all the drama and the relationship stuff going on, but I would say it just felt a little slower. So 4.5 stars out of 5 for me. So 4.5 stars for me is what I would rate this. But what did you guys think of this episode, and what do you guys think of the show so far? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more writing and reading videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And in the meantime, if you liked my review of this episode of the TV show Shogun, then check out my review of the next episode, episode 7. You don't want to miss it.